Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'm doing two things that I said I'd never do. Also, thank you for 100 subscribers, or 500 subscribers, not 100. And if this is your first time, thank you for clicking on the video and stopping in. So what I said I would never do is buy a cold air intake. Also, if this is your first time stopping in, well, you wouldn't know that either, but also you'll know I said I would never modify the BMW, which I'm doing. So I took the factory airbox out. It took like 2 seconds. Like, it's two 10mm screws and a hose clamp. I'll show you how to do it in this video when I do the install of the intake. But first, I'll show you why I got the intake. Every once in a while, I go on eBay and I search 328i and I just filter it to used parts, and then I go cheapest first. And this popped up. I think I paid like 70 bucks for it. It's an InGen. It's called like a short ram, so I figured I would try it. If I didn't like it, I would just sell it on, because I think cold air intakes are kind of a myth. I'm actually making a separate video, it's not going to be in this one, titled "Are Cold Air Intakes a Myth?" where I'm going to drive around with my scanner hooked to the car and check inlet air temps and then do it with the new intake. And obviously this new one's going to flow better, so it's going to have a tiny bit better throttle response. But we're going to see if the air is actually colder going in, because I don't think it will be. I think the stock airbox is just as efficient. So we'll find out if I'm wrong, we'll find out if they're worth the money. I already know for a fact, because there's multiple people that have done it, these pick up like 3 to 5 wheel horsepower in a dyno. But I think that's just because the tube is smooth and the filter's more free flowing than the stock paper filter with the stock charcoal filter. I think you can see in there, and I have a video on it, I gutted the charcoal filter and put like a AFE or K&N, or I don't even remember what brand I used, freer flowing filter in there, and I think that will actually make the same amount of power as this setup. I have no way to test that or prove it because I don't have a dyno, and I'm not going to pay to have a 328i dyno. They're not fast cars, and they never will be. There's no point. I just drive it to school. It's slow. But I bought the intake just out of curiosity, and I'll probably just sell it when I'm done. And why I got it so cheap, the guy that had it before snapped off a screw in there for the mass airflow, which with just this one screw it will work fine, because there's an O-ring and this car obviously doesn't have boost going in. But I'm going to drill this out and tap it. It's a metric 4, then I'll just run to the hardware store and buy 2 screws. And once I do that, I'll show you guys how to install it. It's the easiest thing ever. It's 2 10mm and a hose clamp, and I move the power steering reservoir, which is 2 10mm. But just in case you're new to working on cars, I'll show you. So I'm going to fix this, and then we'll get back under the hood of the car. So I've got my drill bit I picked out of my big selection. It'll fit just inside of the good hole tightly. So now I'll drill out the bad screw. So once that's done, I'll tap it and we'll go back under the hood. I just thought I'd show you a tiny bit of the process real quick. And I guess I'll probably show you me starting to tap the hole in case you've never done it before. So everyone's got different levels of automotive knowledge, so I'll go a little in depth for it. Alright guys, so I did this kind of an interesting way because the handle for the tap hits this. So this drill locks, so I put it in the drill, and then I just spun the drill with my hand to tap the hole. So now this screw will just screw right into there, like so. So once I screw that in, put the other one in, put the mass airflow sensor on, we will throw it in the car. And then we'll go for a drive, see how it sounds, see if there's more induction noise. Alright guys, so to install the cold air intake, it's really simple. You need a Torx T25 for the mass airflow. You need a flathead for the hose clamps, and a 10mm socket, and a ratchet, impact, air ratchet, whatever you want to use. I'm just using the impact because it's way faster. So 10mm, 10mm. And then I find it much easier to remove these. And don't let it fall down on your intake tube like I just did, because I'm filming. and using one hand. And then what we're going to do is pull that off there, and then a flathead under the clip for the mass airflow. So I'm going to have to set the camera down and do that in here and pry up on the clamp. And then with your other hand, you just pull the mass airflow plug out like that. So now there's this hose clamp. So I move this, that just lifts up, it kind of pulls out of the way, and then you literally just stick the screwdriver on this hose clamp here, loosen it, so you can come around from the back around these cables or however, but you get on that. I already loosened mine up a bit, you can see. So now you can just take the whole thing and lift the airbox out. I loosened this clamp also to make it easier. So this clamp you can loosen to help pull the airbox out, or just that one and pull this whole tube out. So now we'll lift the reservoir back up in here, pull this out. Now that's out. And this is kind of restrictive and has the silencer box and this tubing, which I think is where, and then the airbox snorkel's a little small. So I think that's where we're going to pick up any power, if any. Well, I mean, not if any, we know it does from dynos. But that's where I think the power's picked up from, not from cold air. So now I am going to take the cold air intake tube, put it in here. But first, I have to take my Torx T25, and I'm just going to come down in here and loosen the mass airflow sensor, the two Torx screws, which we won't be reusing, but I would just put it back in your airbox for when someday if you install the airbox again. Pull it out, there's an O-ring in there, so it kind of holds itself in. So pull it out, set it like this, don't mess up the sensor, they're very sensitive. And I just thread these back in. So now we're going to get our tube. I'm going to put the mass airflow sensor in the tube. There's an arrow on the mass airflow. There's an arrow on the intake. So when we drop the mass airflow sensor in, just line up the arrows. It kind of shoves in there because of the O-ring. Like, you can pick the whole intake tube up by the mass airflow sensor. That's how strong it is. So now I'm going to put these two screws in real quick off camera, and I'll meet you over at the car. So we come over here to the car, and this little rubber thing the airbox fit on, if you look on the bottom, your airbox is cut out around this. So it just pops off, and then we'll just put this with the airbox and hold on to it. So then we take this shield thing, and the shield goes right here on the threaded holes, and the little cutout goes where the support is. So it looks like that hole isn't lined up. So now we'll put on one nut here. My kit only came with two nuts for some reason. I'll snag another one at the hardware store and throw it on another day. I don't feel like putting this all back together to drive there, and my parents aren't home for me to use their cars. So take this, kind of line it up. In here, like so. And then you take the socket, ratchet, whatever you use, and tighten up. Don't tighten it very much or you'll snap it right off. I'm using impact, which I recommended, but it's so much faster that way. So now that's on there. That's in here, so in theory this is going to feed our cold air into here just like it did with the airbox. And now we're going to put the tube in. And this is really where you're going to see why I moved this, because I can get in there now into the throttle body area to do the hose clamp. So slide the tube in through here, and I'm going to probably have to do this off camera, but we'll see. We will see what happens. Of the hose clamp so we can tighten it here. So that pops over, Make sure, feel on the bottom, make sure it's all the way around. And kind of angle it where you want it. So that's where I want mine, because it's not touching anything on the top or the bottom. Also, at this point in the video, before I forget, I'm going to take these two bolts, put them back in their original holes. That way, someday in a year now or whatever, which I probably won't have this car in a year, I probably won't even have it much more than a week or two. I'm going to go look at some cars on Monday, but we'll have these bolts saved. That way they don't get lost, because they're right back where you left them. So now, it also helps with this reservoir move. We can reach down in here and find our mass airflow plug. Hopefully you guys can see. It's sunny out, but the shadow of my body over the camera. And we're gonna plug the mass airflow in. You can hear it kind of snap in. Hopefully you could hear that. So now that's plugged in. Now we can put this reservoir back on. Now we're just going to pop the cone filter on. I've been filming this entire video in one take, and then I'll just edit it out, and this camera only shows we're at the 19-minute mark. So this is literally like a 20-minute install. Especially if you've never worked on a car, or very little, this will probably take you a while. I have a lot of experience, but even so, anyone could do this in less than an hour. So now, just gonna shove this on, and you feel it snap into place. There's like a ridge and like a groove where this goes in. So now, I'm gonna tighten that up. Okay, so that's it. That's InGen cold air intake installed in 20 minutes total. And that's even with me filming. It's literally so easy. Alright guys, so throttle response is no different. Nothing feels any different. So I'm going to floor it here. We'll see if it gets any louder. Alright, so it sounds awesome. There's a ton of induction noise, and it sounds really cool. I don't know how well the camera picks it up. If you're asking the question, is it worth it? My answer is no, unless you purely want your car to sound cool, but there's going to be no performance gains. But I mean, I guess with a 328i, you don't really expect it to be fast. You would have just bought like a 335. I didn't buy this car expecting it to be fast. I don't think it is. But for the price I paid for this intake, I figured I'd make some videos on it, try it, sell it down the line if I don't like it. So it sounds good, but the car to me doesn't feel any different. But I like the sound. And so tomorrow I have a video coming, and that is going to show if it actually works. I have a OBD2 monitor hooked up to it, and it's reading me my inlet air temps with the intake. And before I installed it, I did the same thing with the airbox. So we'll see if it actually gets cold air and doesn't just flow better, because I think the fact that the intake just flows better is the only gain we're getting with the freer flowing filter and the smoother tubes. So we'll give you one more sound here. So there's your sound. It does sound way better. Doesn't do anything else of value though. So I'm getting home now. I'll edit this for you, upload it, and then we'll start getting some OBD2 data for the intake for tomorrow's video. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and as always, have a good day, and don't forget to get out in your garage and keep wrenching on stuff. So thank you.